When we talk about Arab mythology in general, one of the creatures that comes to mind immediately is of course the jinn or genie. After all, with the great influence they have nowadays in pop culture, it's pretty common to see them represented here and there in the media, literature, and even video games. They are among those legendary beings like dragons or elves that will always be present in our collective minds. Jinns are semi-supernatural beings that are usually prominent in the traditions and folk beliefs of those who follow the faith of Islam. They are usually portrayed as mighty beings with phenomenal powers. There are a few theories as how these beings were originally created. Most sources say that they were created by Allah, who used the Saharan wind, Simoon, to shape them. Others believe that they were created by a smokeless magical fire. According to the common Islamic traditional beliefs, angels were created on a Wednesday and jinns on a Thursday, and they lived on earth for 1,000 years before humans were finally created on a Friday. Currently, one of the best historical mentions of jinns comes from the Quran in Surah 72, Al-Jinn. In there, it is implied that jinns, after living on earth for such a long time, became powerful and arrogant beings, and that was eventually the cause of their downfall. But in general, their origins even now are still rather vague and the subjects of many debates. We have records of jinns being already established in the folk beliefs and traditions of pre-Islamic Arabia. At the time, they were considered as supernatural beings who were invisible to the human eye, but they could also take the form of an animal or an object. During that period of time, jinns were usually portrayed in a negative light. They were feared by the people because they thought they were the source of diseases, curses, and various mental illnesses. The appearance of jinns, like most mythical creatures, may be represented in various ways because of the different cultures in which they belong and are part of the belief system. That's the reason why there are several types of jinns in Arabian mythology, each having their own unique features. The Ifrits, for example, are the jinns of fire who inhabited the lands and deserts. They were also found in cemeteries and abandoned clearings. The Ifrits are mostly known for their rebellious, malevolent nature and hostile behavior toward human beings. They were among the first races of jinns created by Allah in the beginning of time. There was also a class of jinn called the Mureeds. They were mostly known for their immense powers and malice. They were basically an evil class of jinn that would often harm human beings. These were the jinns that also granted wishes. But as most of you know, these wishes often came with a heavy price. Another very well-known class of jinn is called the Qareen. On the contrary to the other species of jinns, the Qareens were often portrayed as being attached to humans instead of its own unique invisible entity. The common belief is that every single human being has a Qareen attached to them, and that jinn might be the cause of all the bad decisions and sinful actions we make in our daily lives. Overall, jinns are very widespread in the traditions and culture in the Middle East and in North Africa, which is why there are several different types of supernatural beings that are sometimes associated to the definition of jinn. An example would be like the ghouls, which we already explored in a previous video. Due to their volatile nature, jinns could be beautiful and attractive or repulsive and monstrous. That is largely due to the fact that jinns were metamorphs. They could change their appearance at will, and most of the time it was used to deceive the human eye. They could be giant and massive, or so small that they could hide under your fingernails. They could also take the form of animals, such as goats, camels, or hyenas. There's also a known theory that suggests that the first jinn could have been Iblis, the fallen angel who refused the order of God, who told him to kneel before the first created man, Adam. Iblis refused. He saw Adam as being inferior to him. That man had been created from clay, while he was created with smokeless fire. Therefore, he told Allah that he should not be forced to kneel in front of an inferior being. Allah eventually banished him and sent him to hell until Judgment Day. Today, jinns are still very present in the Arabian traditions and folklore. In some regions of the Maghreb and the Middle East, there's often a connection between mental illnesses and jinns. Indeed, there are still people who believe and claim that a person who suffers from a mental illness is more often than not the result of a jinn possessing that person. And that doesn't stop only with mental illnesses. With time, we came to associate jinns with several diseases, deformities, and even certain disorders such as sleep paralysis. An Ottoman manuscript dating back to the 18th century even shows us that jinns were sometimes perceived as the cause of toothaches. They believed that jinns could infiltrate the human body and cause damage wherever they wanted to punish them. With time, jinns were included in many classical literary works, like the Arabian Nights, for example in the tale of the old fisherman and the jinn, or sure enough in the worldwide known story of Aladdin and the Magic Lamp, first popularized by Disney, and not too long ago it even had its own live-action remake. Other than that, we can also find them included in several films, novels, video games, and so on. So that's it for today's video. Thanks everyone for watching and hopefully you enjoyed it. If that's the case, do not hesitate to share the video and to leave a comment below if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos. For those of you who want to support the channel, you can also do it through Patreon in the link in the description below. Now then, thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.